The central nervous system, or CNS, is a network that sends information between nerve cells. This takes the form of electrical signals traveling along nerve fibers. Imagine it like a rail network, but with billions of trains traveling at 100 meters per second to reach their destinations. On a rail network, when the tracks are damaged, they can be repaired, but only so many times. Eventually, damage can no longer be repaired and trains are unable to travel on those tracks. This could negatively affect the network, but when a track is closed, the signaller can reroute the trains and services may be able to carry on as normal. Similarly, in MS, inflammation damages the CNS, which can sometimes be repaired by the body, but when it can't, nerve cells and fibers are lost. This permanent loss of nerve cells and fibers is known as disease progression. Disease progression starts at the very beginning of MS, often before diagnosis, and it happens in all forms of MS, despite what form a person has or is diagnosed with. Like the trains that can be rerouted onto other tracks, those living with MS may not have disability that is visible to others. This may be because MS affects functions that others cannot see, or their CNS has ways to hide it. At the start of MS, disease progression can be difficult to detect because the CNS can initially compensate for a loss of nerve cells and fibers with what's called neurological reserve. The CNS does this by sending signals through undamaged areas, or adapting undamaged areas to take on new functions in addition to repairing damaged areas. On the rail network, it's only when all remaining tracks are at full capacity and signallers run out of options that the network starts to experience problems and passengers notice. In the case of MS, when the CNS can no longer compensate for damage, this is a point where symptoms become more noticeable or disability worsens. Because disease progression is a steady but permanent process that can go unnoticed for many years, it is important that those living with MS speak with their healthcare provider about disease progression and how to identify and delay it. Treatment as early as possible, with a therapy that impacts progression, not just relapses, is important to minimize permanent loss of nerve cells and the impact that this disease can have on daily life and the years to come.